Welcome back, everybody. I'm Nicole Gerard, and this is the Vertical Mindset Podcast. In today's episode, Sasja sits down with Eitan and discusses the concept of the SuperMind and building a culture of excellence. Now, if you're the kind of leader that has always wanted to build a team that is able to create incredible results and seemingly accomplish anything they put their mind to, then today's episode is one you won't want to miss.
As we go forward in talking about a number of the things that you and I have been exploring over the last few weeks, the one theme that keeps coming up for me that I'm most curious about today is this whole idea of creation. Because you talk a lot about people becoming master creators and what that looks like. And so let's start there. And what for you is the definition of a master creator, and why does it matter?
I think it matters because the essence of most organizations and what they want to achieve is high performance or high results. And it doesn't start unless and until every single employee in the organization comes to work to create. So instead of coming to work to maintain, they come to work to create something. Now, when there's clarity around what it is that they're coming to create, then it's much easier to get that whole energy and the whole focus towards that. Now, what I've seen a lot in organizations is most organizations have not created that context or that purpose where people see themselves as creators. So when we start to work with organizations around creation, the first point of departure is the individual. How can I, as an individual contributor, an employee, a manager, a leader, come to work with the main purpose and the main goal of creating something? And that something obviously is around the goal or the vision or the purpose of the organization. Okay. So becoming a master creator is really, I need to take responsibility for learning how to become a master creator of my life, the life that I want, first and foremost. Of which work is a part of. So when I come to work, it's an extension of my creation rather than it's a separate thing. So that's how I see this master creator essence.
Okay, so for you, there's layers then. There's first that level of I'm creating my own life and I'm the master creator of what it is I want to create in terms of my purpose, how I want to show up in the world. And now you're seeing also the extension of that in terms of how do I create it work? And what's something meaningful that I'm contributing towards. So what for you is an example? Like I'm thinking of people who say, well, what do you mean, how do I create it work? Because I have certain things that I'm supposed to do and deadlines and this is the expected result. So how do you talk to people about what to create within the confines of work, knowing that there is structure or boundaries, expectations? How do I create maybe especially in jobs where I may not feel like I have a lot of creative license?
Well, the first area to start with is to determine for oneself what is most important in my life. When I'm clear on what's most important in my life, when I come to work, work needs to be just an extension or an expression of what's most important in my life. Now, of course, when we come to work, we are coming to work with other people, which means that we have to learn to become co-creators. So first of all, I'm a master creator of the life that I want. Work is a part of it. My family is a part of it. My social engagement is a part of it. And when I come to work and I come to co-create with other people, the main focus should be around the goal of the organization, whatever it is that the organization has decided, has agreed that they want to create. So when I come to work, it's a co-creative process where I, as a master creator, am coming to work with other master creators who come to work to co-create something, ideally that has never been created before.
Okay, so that brings me even to a whole new level of curiosity, which is I come to work and there are things that I want to create. And for my colleagues and teammates, there are also things that they want to create. And sometimes those things are in alignment and sometimes they're not. So how have you worked with clients around, or even personally around, resolving the tension between I want to create something and yet you may want to be creating something completely different, or there's something else that's a priority for you? How do you deal with some of the tension of co-creating when it may not be this beautiful, magical alignment that just naturally shows up all the time?
And that's where leadership comes in. And that's where leaders need to determine and decide what is the main focus of the vision, where are we all going, and then getting each and every single creator, co-creator, to align with that vision. And I find that the easiest and quickest way to align people to that vision or to that purpose of the organization, so that there's no conflict, okay, should we do this or should we do that, is first and foremost finding out what's most important in their life individually. And then when they come to work, they come to work in service of their purpose, which is fully aligned with the company's purpose and vision. And when that happens, the conflict is not really there. It's not should we do this or should we do that, because we are coming here in service of that thing that we are all aligned with. So of course we navigate through this process. Sometimes we'll try one thing and it will work very well, and sometimes we'll try another thing and it won't work at all. And the whole process of creation is such that it's not, as planned, it all works according to plan. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
The process of creation can get very, very messy. And this is something that most people don't understand. And that's why when we create, we cannot be perfectionistic. We cannot be controlling of the process. We have to learn to become master navigators of this co-creative process.
Right.
And when we really understand that, it means that it's flowing. It ebbs and flows, and we get it right, and then we don't get it right, and we don't get discouraged, and we try another way. I mean, all you need to do is look at highly successful people in all walks of life, and you'll find that they've had many, many setbacks, but they didn't give up, because what they kept absolutely firm in their mind is the purpose, the vision, the outcome that they wanted to achieve. And because of that, they understood there are going to be a lot of trial and errors. They're going to make a lot of mistakes. They will have quite a few failures here and there, and that was totally fine.
Yeah.
Because that is the process of creation.
Yeah.
And that's the most exciting part of this.
Yeah, it's true. I agree with you. And I think a lot of people have this definition of failure as something that means, oh, I need to give up, it's not worth it, etc. And yet failure is such a rich part of learning. And it's absolutely fundamental to the creative process. And I know you've talked often in terms of co-creation, and one of the things I've seen you get very excited about is what you call SuperMind. Can you say a bit more about that?
Yes, and it is very exciting. So SuperMind is a concept. It's an energy. It's a group of people that come together to create something that they're all aligned with and aligned to. And when that full alignment happens, and you have master creators coming to co-create, there's a magical thing that happens that is called the SuperMind. And that SuperMind is when all these minds come together to create a one thing, a one energy, a one focus, a one vision, a one purpose. It's as though you have 100 or 1,000 or 2,000 or two people coming together, and there's no distinction between you, between me, between him, between her. We are all in this together, swimming along, navigating, learning, finding out, bumping our heads, learning that, this wall, is not really the right way. Let's try this way. But we are doing it together. If you can imagine a school of fish.
It's funny, that's the image I just had in my head.
and maybe a flock of birds. How, like in a split second, they're able to shift and maneuver, and they're all doing it together. That is a SuperMind. It's like we have accessed some energy that we are all plugged into, we are all linked into, and we are all swimming together. In this instance, as humans, we are all creating together. This is a magical thing. The SuperMind is a magical thing. Most people find it very difficult to plug into this because of the ego, and because of the horizontal mindset, and because of the hidden agendas or individualistic agendas, where with the SuperMind, there's only one agenda, and that is to create something that has never been created before for the sake of the whole, for the sake of all of us. It's not for me, it's not for you, it's for we, it's for all of us, and it's for the sake of something even bigger than all of us. It's very difficult to explain, and that's why on the one hand it's so exciting, on the other hand it's like, so how do I do it? And the first way to do it is to learn to become a master creator, and then to let go of it having to be according to my plan.
Right. Yeah.
Can you see what which means like I learn to become a master creator, and then I have to let go of whatever it is that I think that it has to be like, so that we can actually join forces and enter or slip into the SuperMind. And then it's beyond your world, it's beyond my world, we go along with this energy, and all we're doing is we are feeding this energy towards something.
And what's one of the most powerful examples you've seen, whether you've experienced it personally or witnessed one of your like clients experiencing the power of what it's like to actually get to this place?
I think for most people, definitely in the way that we have been brought up, it's something that happens by chance. And I've seen teams that have entered into that space and have created amazing things. And it can be in a small little team, it can be between two people, it can be inventions. I think it happens a lot at Google, at Apple Computers. It happens a lot in different organizations, and some of the clients that we work with, it happens, but with small groups of people because they don't really know how to do it.
Right.
So it happens by chance, and then it's like something just accelerates the progress, the innovation, the creativity accelerates, and they don't really know how they got from here to there, but they got there.
Yeah.
And something phenomenal actually happens, and the results are astounding. And very often they don't know how to replicate it because they don't have a process for it. Whereas what I'm learning to do now, and we're starting to find out, is how to help people slip into that stream,
Right.
into that SuperMind, and start to do it more consciously. So in a way, you have to start consciously, and then you have to let it go.
Yeah.
And that's why it's such a different
Dance.
type of,
Yeah.
it is a dance.
Yeah,
So,
and a real balance. And I can appreciate, like you said, the letting go. Control is certainly something that gets in the way of being able to
Correct.
create, even personally, never mind on a collective scale. What are some of the other traps that can get in the way of being able to certainly co-create and to slip into SuperMind, so to speak? Are there other things that get in the way other than just a strong need for control?
Yes. I think that one of the biggest ones, and I think control feeds into that, but one of the biggest traps is our belief system. That it has to be a certain way. So even if I'm not trying to control, if I have a belief, well, it has to be this way rather than this way, then that will get in the way.
Right.
Because when we slip into the SuperMind, there's no prescribed way. There's no pre-planned way. And that's why it's so difficult, because our cognitive and our prefrontal cortex and the way that we have been brought up, analyzing, evaluating, creating a process for every single thing, which is not a bad thing. But within a SuperMind, the process has a life of its own. I cannot manage that process or control that process. I slip into it, and then we navigate through it together. And there is an organizing mechanism here that allows this energy to just go and go and go. And our role is just to nurture, cultivate, feed it, add to it.
Okay.
And our belief system very often wants to take away, I agree, and I disagree, and I like, and I don't like. That is the biggest trap that gets in the way of SuperMind. Right. So basically, to get into it, we have to deep dive and then let go. Deep dive and then let go. And this is it's quite a fitness. It's a different type of orientation, because when we start to learn to do it, deep dive and then let go. Get in, let go. Have the willpower and the practice and massive focus and concentration, and then let go. And if you can think about this, very often we're not used to it, because this is not the way that we have been brought up at school, universities, colleges, corporations, where it's much more control, it's much more rigid, it's quite inflexible. Yeah. Whereas here, extreme focus, and then absolute let go, surrender. And surrender, just the word surrender is something that in the corporate world, it's like, wow.
And especially in North
What do you mean
America.
by surrender? Come on. Yeah. You have to control it. You have to manage it, you know?
And I've got to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's an enormous challenge. So when you mentioned like the organizing structure that helps it happen, what tell me more about what you mean by that.
So the organizing structure is first of all, we have to be clear on what we want to create. Okay, have an area, a direction. We want to create whatever, man going to the moon, humans going to the moon, or Mars, or create a flying car that's autonomous, so that we don't have to worry about the limitations of roads and that infrastructure. Yeah. So that's the idea that we all have to collectively agree on and be aligned with. Once we have that, we have to determine, okay, where are we right now? Yeah. What is our current reality? What is currently working for us in terms of our knowledge, in terms of our learning, education, that is working for us towards that? What is not optimized and what is not working at all? Some things that we are doing that are not working for us, that we need to stop doing. And once we have that, we've created structural tension between two things. The one thing that we want, this vision, and the other thing, which is a current reality that is currently in existence. The next step then is to start to look at, okay, now how can we move current reality? This is still very process oriented. Yeah. We're not into the SuperMind yet. We're just into the planning phase. The third part is now looking at what is the plan that we need to move current reality into this vision. We come up with a plan, and then what we do is we organize ourselves. We just created a structure now that we can focus, which is the vision, the current reality, and the plan. Now we organize ourselves to come together and deep dive into this structure to navigate this current reality towards the vision within a very, very, very fluid and flexible action plan that we will navigate through within the SuperMind. But because we have a structure and because we have tension between two things, the one thing that we want to create and where we are right now, we are more oriented now to start to move in that direction. Right. The SuperMind is entering into right now. We've all aligned towards a common vision and common goal. We know where we stand. We know what our roles are. We come together, and now we start to meander and navigate through this, innovate, create. And what you find, Sasha, is that the creative juices that flow from all of us, where we are not coming from belief systems, but all we are doing is we are adding. So this is an evolutionary process. It's a generative process where we are constantly looking at how do we optimize, how do we add to this.
And what do we, like you said, what do we stop doing too, which is often a bigger one for people.
Exactly. And like the school of fish or the flock of birds, we're just going through this. Okay? Maybe we thought this was right. No, it's not. Let's move to this thing. So there's a lot of flexibility and fluidity within this process. There's no rigidity. There's no fear of change, because everything is in constant motion the whole time. Shifting and changing, but all towards a thing that we all want to create. And we are all part of this thing. And that is the magic, because we feel it. We feel it energetically, we feel it emotionally, and there's only one of us. And that's the SuperMind.
Wow. Yeah, and I can see as people are working on this collectively, and really what they're doing is assessing current reality in relation to that goal, that ideal vision, outcome, etc. And then, of course, they're continually changing current reality in every single moment. So what I see being really compelling about that is I'm now aware of current reality, and I'm now really tangibly aware of what is my impact on this to shift current reality, to change it, which would start building that momentum and engagement and energy and drive. Yeah. That's how I see that playing out. Does that fit for you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Only there's a structure, but it's very fluid. Very fluid. So we may have thought that this was the right thing to do right now. Yeah. And in one split second realize that it wasn't, and we'll shift. And there's no difficulty in shifting. There's ease of shifting to a totally 180 degrees. Yeah. We can totally shift to something else, and it's totally okay. You don't get people freaking out and fear of change, and we don't want to do this, but this is how we've done it for the last 15 years. There's none of that in the SuperMind. That's why there's a magic, you see? Because we are just navigating, and the level of satisfaction is unbelievable. Yeah. Because when you finish with your work for the day, you feel so satisfied, so full, so fulfilled, that you want to jump out of bed the following morning and come back to work. And ideally, the SuperMind is also something that you create at home with your family.
Absolutely.
This is not just a work thing, even though very often I find that it's easier to create the SuperMind at work because organizations have a structure that is goal-oriented, that is constantly looking at where are we in relation to this.
Yeah.
And a lot of families have not created a structure, a well-organized structure that helps them create into the SuperMind, even though they can do that.
Yeah, no, and I absolutely agree with you. And actually, it was one of the things, as I learned this process, one of the things I even started doing with my husband. We've created a similar structure, which is, and as you know, as we've done all of the, our plans and our visions through the vertical mindset, looking at what's the purpose for this relationship and what do we want to be creating, and assessing current reality. And so literally on a weekly basis, we now have this meeting to assess how's current reality in our relationship compared to the vision, and what do we need to be doing more of, less of, etc. And that's been transformational because we've created the structure. And it makes all the difference in the world when there's something in place, and it's not just this random, we argued today or we got along well today. It's we're constantly assessing what's the current reality of our relationship compared to what we want to be creating. And it moves. I agree with you. It just moves everything. I don't even know quite how to describe it other than I've been through that process, and I know what a difference it makes when we're doing it. And I know what a difference it makes when we're not following a process, because I really believe that structure is what determines excellence or not.
Excellent. And that is the way to do it in your personal life. And once you get into that flow, and you have learned how to do it well, then you can start to let go of needing to have that structure and constantly check and all that. In the beginning, I think it's very good to do it for a few years. I'm saying a few years, not a month or two, because once you get into that flow, you know how to do it, and then the intuition starts to kick in, and the SuperMind is something that is self-organizing. It's not something that we can control. It's just something that we feed, and that's the difference here. You see, that's why initially what we're doing, because we're using our conscious and cognitive abilities, because we're very developed in that way, to create the structure and the process so we can learn to be together, come together, do together, have together. But then slowly, as it's working more and more, learn to become, to let go, and let it start to happen. And you'll see how you start to maneuver with it without you having to manage it.
What I hear you saying underneath all of this is that fundamentally, if human beings could let go of the need and the desire to control, life would actually be so much easier and so much more fulfilling.
Correct. Can you imagine a bird waking up in the morning and saying, I must catch 10 worms today? I mean, it's ridiculous, just the thought of it, right? Or a leaf in the morning saying, I must grow by an inch today. It's impossible. The bird wakes up in the morning, and intuitively, it knows, well, I'm hungry. Let me go and find a worm or catch a worm. And that's what it does. It goes and catches a worm. And so does the eagle. Do the same thing. Let me catch a fish. And so does the leaf. And nature understands SuperMind exquisitely. Humans have got a long way to go in terms of learning how to come together without having to fight, without the conflict, without the stress, without the pain, without the suffering. Just to come together and learn how to co-create. And that's it. And this is really the dance of life, that when we learn to slip into that and to be in that space, all the doing comes from the right energy, comes from passion, comes from giving, comes from care. And then, of course, the having takes care of itself, because having is always generated by doing. And when doing is generated coming from this essence, the core part of who we really are, the being, it's a magical life. And that's why work is no longer seen as a chore. It's seen as the most magnificent playground to co-create with other people that come to work to create as well. And there's nothing more fulfilling than that.
What advice would you give to people who are trying to create and are working actively to create in the world, in their lives and at work, and yet are struggling with that piece of control of it's not going the way I want it to. I don't feel that I'm on track, or I don't think that, others are in the same space as me. What advice would you give to these people who are really wanting to create and getting caught in the traps of wanting to control it?
I think the first thing that I would recommend is work on yourself. Start to meditate. I know some people, there's a lot that we know now about meditation, a lot of research, a lot of neuroscience research about how beneficial it is. But start to work on yourself. First and foremost, learn to become a master creator, and a master creator is never controlling. You cannot qualify as a master creator if your focus is on controlling anything, because ultimately we cannot control anything. We cannot control the weather, and we cannot control the traffic, and we cannot control our bodies. We can have slight influences, we can go to gym, and we can manipulate certain things here and there, but the bottom line is the body's going one way.
Yeah.
Okay, and everything has got its natural flow. So learn once again to plug into the natural flow of things, and then you can help direct it here and there, but not control it anymore. So step number 1, work on yourself. Step number 2, stop trying to control the world in order to suit your mind's preferences of how you think it should be or shouldn't be, because that is control. And the third thing is start to look for people, whether it's at work or socially, that also want to create something that is special, that is meaningful, that is significant. Start to align with those people, and then start to learn how to do it with others. But step number 1, learn to do it by yourself. Then find other people to do it with, and then you'll create the magic.
Right. Yeah, I can certainly see that would make a big difference. And ideally, you're finding that group of people who have also obviously done the work on themselves and have done that work to not only want to be able to create, but also understand that we want to do this collectively, and that we can create something so much more powerful together than we ever could as any single individual.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The reason why I say meditation, I just want to bring that up, is because when we meditate, we start to create a gap between this chattering mind that doesn't stop and between the core essence of who we are. So when that happens, when we create that gap and that space, it's easier for us to stop controlling.
Yeah.
It's when we are so aligned, so drawn to this mind that is so fixated on survival and constantly feels or believes, has some belief system, and then feels, of course, that we are not surviving enough, that it wants to control everything. And that very often, that contraction makes it very difficult for us to come together with other people and create. So instead of creating, we're trying to control. And yes, we can create here and there, but we are limiting this creation to such a degree that I feel that the return on investment is just not worth it. And that's why meditation, it's very, very focused in the way that I teach it and that I do it. And that is just to create space where I no longer have to control anything. I can just be. It's the sense of just being. That's why I mention it.
Yeah. And for anyone starting out with meditation or who's brand new to it, not that familiar with it, what would be the best way to get started?
Well, there are a lot of different meditations. I think just to have a daily practice of sitting down every single day for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. Eventually, it needs to be a minimum of 20 minutes. But initially, I recommend to people to start with 5 minutes. 5 minutes first thing in the morning. Just sit, be still, let everything be as it is, and then focus your attention on your breath or your toe or whatever it is that you want to. But one thing, generally the breath is a good one. Go breathing in, breathing out, and do as much as you can to stay focused on that one thing for as long as you can. And when you get distracted, just be mindful that you're distracted. Come back to that focus of attention, whether it's a breath or whatever it is, and that's it. And that's a practice. And you do that for 5 minutes, and then you get up and you carry on with your day. And the more we do that, the easier it is for us to then stay focused on whatever it is that we want to stay focused on. And that's why what we are doing is we are training our mind to focus on where we want it to focus on, rather than this, then it's on the thoughts and feelings and emotions and what I have to do today. And that space allows us to not have to control the whole time.
Right.
That's what I would recommend.
Okay. And do you have any other suggestions or recommendations on how people can increase their level of mindfulness? Meditation is one way. Are there other ways that you would recommend or suggest to people?
Absolutely. I think throughout the day, because we're very busy during the day and we have a tendency to stay on this treadmill and forget all the practices. So throughout the day, and you can put on a little app on your phone to say, okay, remind me, every hour or every 2 hours to be mindful for a minute. I mean, there are a lot of different apps that can do that. And so that's what I would recommend. For 1 minute, every hour, remember to focus on your breath. Remember who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, what is your purpose, why you're grateful for in your life right now, and that's it. Very, very simple. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. Very, very simple. So coming back to the core essence of what's important to me, and then carry on doing your work, carry on doing your family stuff, but just constant reminders. Who am I? What is my purpose about? What do I stand for? What are my values? And that's it.
And you just mentioned something else that's intriguing to me, because I really like what you say. And what am I grateful for? Say something about that. Is there something because there's lots that's come out in the research, certainly in the last number of years as well, around gratitude and the impact that has. And where do you see that fitting in?
So first of all, there are two components to gratitude. The first one is from an emotional perspective. When we are grateful, we spend a minute or 2 minutes just contemplating on what we are grateful for. What it does, it creates space for me to start accessing my feelings and emotions of thankfulness, of peace, of feeling that, I have so much more in my life than my mind is telling me that is missing. The second thing, and that's where the research comes in, is when we are grateful, it means that the lion is not chasing us right now. It means that we are not in survival mode. And as a result, serotonin is released. When we are grateful and think about the lovely people in our life, the people that we love and we care about, it releases oxytocin, another chemical that makes us feel intimate and caring and close to other people, all of which are very, very important to our sense of well-being. And physiologically also very important to our physical well-being. Right. So it does two things. Emotionally, it creates a space of feeling life is good. I feel good about my life rather than something is missing. And neurologically and physiologically, it also secretes or releases chemicals that are very important for us.
Yeah, it's the ideal we all strive towards. So in our quest around becoming master creators, certainly both as individuals and then linking this back to thinking about how we co-create with other people, how would you suggest to people, because one of the things we'll often hear from clients as well is people believing, well, I have great intent, I want to create and I want to co-create, but I'm working with people who are just not in that space, or I'm not in alignment with them, or they're not interested. And if you're wanting to really create and co-create and SuperMind, but you're with a team that is not there, what do you suggest to people in terms of how to handle that kind of situation?
So the first thing is I would actually speak to the team, the leader, and tell them that, or maybe ask them, what is our main goal here? What do we come to do here? And explain to them that, your biggest passion and motivation for coming to work is to create something. And you really want to create it with people that also come to work to create something that is worthwhile and meaningful to everyone. And that's where the role of leadership really comes in, to create the right environment and the right culture where people really want to create something that is meaningful to everyone concerned. So that's the first point of departure. And if that works, great. Then everyone comes to work, you all agree on what we're here to create, and everyone's happy. If that doesn't work, then I would seriously look at moving to another team, or even leaving the company and finding another company that is actually seriously committed to creating something. Right. And I think it's way simpler than people make it out to be. It's part of the accept, change, exit, formula that I teach. Yeah. Accept the situation as it is. If you're not willing to accept it, do everything to change. If it changes, that's great, because now you move back to accept. And if it doesn't change, then exit. And I believe in simplicity rather than complexity. Yeah. So agreed. That's what I would do.
Agreed. I also wonder if in that too, sometimes my wondering with people, one of my own assumptions about many people is we also tend to overestimate how vertical we are, how much we are willing to create and co-create with others, and it becomes much easier to blame everyone else as being the problem as opposed to always just really, really looking at ourselves. So I wonder too if there's a piece in there about that individual who was in that boat of feeling like, oh, everyone else doesn't want to co-create, but I do. Is there also a place where sometimes they may need to even take a harder look at themselves and an openness to others that they may not have done up to that point?
Absolutely. Every time that we blame anyone for anything, that's horizontal.
Yeah.
So always go back to looking at your side, inside yourself, and ask yourself, what can I do to influence this? What can I do to inspire other people? And some people don't want to be influenced. Some people are not coachable. And when that's the case, then make a decision of what's most important to you. And that's it. Once again, we're going back to simplicity.
Yeah. Which is, again, at the root of everything, that's a big piece of the influence and the inspiration that you bring to the world.